Welcome on back, guys. Welcome on back to another episode of Beeple Reactions, the best channel on YouTube. I know this, you know this. Welcome back to another video, guys. If you did not know already, Mr. Beeple is the artist behind the most expensive NFT to have ever been sold at $69 million. This is not just one individual image, this is 5,000 images combined to make one super supreme image. And if you look into detail within every single image, you'll be mind blown, you'll be fascinated, and you'll be rethinking your entire life. So it's definitely worth checking out. Link in the description, guys. Link is in the description to Beeple's website, where you can check out these images for yourself. And you know, it's necessary, like you need to look at these images. But anyways, into today's video, into the image we're going to be looking at today. The title of this image, I'm not sure you guys are ready for this one. The title of this image is called SHREK 2. Oh my god, it's vulgar, isn't it? You know, in comparison to other Beeple images, this is definitely on the graphic side. This is definitely on the perverse side. You know, this is definitely not a video for the younger audiences. So if you are below the age of 18, I recommend picking another video or just clicking off my channel. You know, this is for more mature audiences. So let's just get straight into it. So the setting of this image is a dark forest. There's a dark forest, as you can see by the trees, and you can see by the flooring. This is a dark forest. This is somewhere deep in nature, and there's not so much going on in this image. It's fairly simple to understand. It's fairly simple to figure out. You've got all these townspeople. Some of them look like soldiers, but there's also a few women in there. You've got women and you've got soldiers, and they are all gazing upon SHREK. And this is not SHREK as you've seen him in the movies. This is naked SHREK. This is SHREK without any clothes. I don't know what Beeple has. I don't know why Beeple is so obsessed with showing people as naked. He shows Mickey Mouse as naked in some of his images. He shows Donald Trump as naked. He shows Kim Jong-un as a naked baby. Beeple has this obsession with showing people as naked. And from what we've picked up so far, usually when Beeple shows a certain character as naked, it usually means that that character represents lust in some sort of way. You know, he's selling lust to the masses. But we're going to get deeper into that. So we've got all these townspeople, we've got these village folk, and they're looking upon SHREK, and SHREK is naked. And I was looking at this image and I was trying to figure out, why are they looking at him? You know, he's naked. Why are they looking at him? And if you look closer into this image and you kind of look at their facial expressions, you can see they're quite fascinated. They seem very fascinated with him. They seem very interested. And they're looking very deeply at him, as if they're trying to figure something out. Now, I think I've figured it out, what exactly they're looking at. And of course, I want to be very careful with my words, because I don't want my video to get taken down. I don't want to get a strike on my channel, so I have to be careful with my words. But what gives it away is that there's a fellow on the right. On the far right hand side of this image, there is one guy, and he's holding his hands like this. You know, as if to say that what he's looking at SHREK's genital area. And of course, you know, he must be gazing upon something that is quite large in size, which is why he's doing that gesture, that thing with his hands. And that's also why I guess the villagers look so captivated and so intrigued, especially the women. There's like one or two women in this image. And if you look closer into this image, if you're checking it out for yourself on the website, if you zoom into these women's faces, I promise you, this shit looks so creepy. Like, the faces of the women on this image look so creepy, bro. They look like witches or something, bro. And everyone is captivated. You know, the men are captivated by it, the women are captivated by it, and they're just so intrigued by this ogre's genitalia. SHREK's not even a human. SHREK is an ogre. And so that's exactly what we're seeing in this image. It's fairly simple. You've got SHREK, you've got the townsfolk, and you've got the forest. And of course SHREK is naked and everyone is completely captivated. by SHREK's lower regions. So it's quite an inappropriate image, it's quite a vulgar image. But as you know, with every Beeple image, there's always a deeper meaning behind it. There's always a deeper symbolism, you know. When you look upon Beeple images, you can't take them at face value. You know, there's always so much that goes into them, and you really need to figure it out. You can learn a lot from these images. You can learn a lot about the nature of society and the true nature of some of these childhood characters, such as Mickey Mouse and Buzz Lightyear and SHREK and all the other ones that Beeple constantly features within his images. So how do I interpret this image? What do I think this image is trying to show? I think this image is all about exposing something. I think it's exposing a darker element of the movie SHREK. You know, me personally, growing up, I loved the movie SHREK. You know, SHREK number 2 was my favorite. Funnily enough, the title of this image is called SHREK 2. That was my favorite SHREK. I've seen all the SHREK movies, 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 2 is my favorite. Number 1 is my second favorite. Number 4, I'm not really a fan of it. But you know, I've seen all the SHREK movies, and I think SHREK was a very entertaining movie. It was a very entertaining kids movie. You know, the characters are very funny. The storyline is extremely creative. You know, we can all relate to SHREK in one way or another. If you're from the UK, everyone knows a guy like SHREK. Everyone knows an uncle like SHREK. You know, he just really likes to be to himself. He doesn't like when people bother him. You know, grumpy old man. You know, everyone knows a SHREK. So I think he is a pretty cool concept. But like with all these childhood TV shows, with all these childhood movies, there's always a dark element to it. And it doesn't take a genius to figure these things out. You know, SHREK is a dirty man. In the movies, he's shown to be a dirty ogre. He's very unhygienic. He embraces how unhygienic he is. You know, there's always weird stuff coming out of his nose, weird stuff coming out of his body. He's always farting. He's always got something up his nose, something coming out of his ears. You know, I'll never forget one of the scenes in SHREK. This is one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen. I laughed so much as a child. He'd stick his finger into his ear, pull his finger out of his ear, it'd be covered in earwax, and then he'd use that he'd use it to make a candle out of it. He would make a candle out of his own earwax. So SHREK is a man who embraces his unhygienicness. He embraces his inner filth, and I guess that is the darker element of SHREK. You know, because if you become unhygienic, if you embrace that which is nasty and filthy, one of the consequences is that it can lead you down the pathway of lust. And it can. You know, if you don't clean after yourself properly, if you embrace filthy things, if you accept your bad habits, it can make you more susceptible to lust and more susceptible to sexual influence. You know, if someone was trying to influence you sexually, you would be a lot more susceptible to it, because you're already embraced in filth, you're already unhygienic, you know, and with that comes a lack of self-control. So this is the darker element of what SHREK represents. Of course, like with all these characters, it's more than what meets the eye. You know, if you look at Mickey Mouse and you listen to Mickey Mouse, he sounds like he's impersonating a young boy. He's putting on a squeaky voice. He's trying to sound like an adult. As you know, kids nowadays, they have squeaky voices and they try to sound like adults. And he's being depicted as a mouse. If you think about the deeper system that these children are going through, the school system, the work system, the university system, you know, it's like they're mice at a young age. It's as if they're mice, and they grow older and they become like rats. What we know is the rats race. You know, adult employees working 9 to 5s, working office jobs, you know, working jobs that require them to travel back and forth on public transports, and they call it the rats race. You know, you're racing with other rats, fighting over some cheese, fighting over some bread, you know. So Mickey Mouse is showing little kids as mouse. You know, there's a darker element behind Mickey Mouse. Have a look at some of the Buzz Lightyear videos. We spoke about what Buzz Lightyear represents, the dark side of Buzz Lightyear. But you know, as a parent, I'm not a parent myself, but if you are a parent and you're exposing your children to these movies, especially these Disney movies, these Pixar movies, you need to be very, very careful, very observant, very vigilant, you know, about what exactly you're showing your children. Because as entertaining as these movies are, as funny as they can be, there's always a darker element. And movies is one of the easiest way to program the subconscious mind. Movies is one of the easiest way to teach people things, you know, to teach them visually, to teach them subconsciously. It's so easy to propagate things into the mind by showing children movies from a young age, you know, which conditions them to develop certain societal norms and think and, you know, assume certain things about the world and certain things about the people, which are all in alignment with, you know, certain agendas. I hope I don't sound like I'm waffling. I hope I don't sound like I'm just going crazy. But, you know, if you know, you know, man. These movies are not as innocent as you might think. These movies are really not as innocent as you might think. You don't know these production people. You know, all you people watching these kids movies, showing your kids these movies, you don't know these production companies. You've never met these production companies. You've never met the man behind the camera. You've never met the man behind the camera. If only you knew, Lord. You know, you've never met the director. You've never met these actors. You don't know what their intentions are. You don't know what organizations these guys are a part of. I don't want to say too much, but guys, you need to be very careful what you show your children. You know, this character of SHREK, this ogre, as funny as he is, as relatable as he is, he does represent, you know, impurity, being unhygienic, being vulgar, and there's a very dark side that comes to it. There's a very dark side that comes to it. You know, the character of SHREK is actually a fetish. I've seen on the internet that the character of SHREK is actually a fetish, and there's many people who actually are really turned on by the idea of SHREK, and they make certain videos about SHREK. Do you understand? So this is real, people. This is very, very, very real. You know, right now it's November. A lot of people on the internet are practicing what is known as No Nut November, where they go the entire month without jerking off, without climaxing themselves. And one thing I want to say about No Nut November, like, I agree with semen retention. I agree that it's very important for a man to utilize his sexual energy and not waste his sexual energy. You know, what they call semen is in fact starlight. It's very important to cherish your starlight, preserve your starlight, and make the most out of your starlight. So it is very important to have semen retention, to have discipline. You can't be busting nuts every day, left, right and center. It's really not good for you, and it's definitely not good for the people around you, you know. And at the end of the day, we only have ourselves to blame. You know, if you were to go online and watch some videos that you know you shouldn't be watching, you can only blame yourself. If you're dealing with women who you know they're no good for you, you know, even having intimate relationships with them is doing all bad for you. It's not doing no good for you. You only have yourself to blame. But inevitably, a lot of these things which we are programmed to and we're seeing from a young age, for example modern fashion, for example nudity on the media, you know, adult movies, and of course kids shows, subconsciously programming dark things into our mind from a young age. There's a lot of things we can blame. We can even blame the very languages we speak. Of course we have the word glass, a glass meaning a glass, you know, a see-through holder. You know, everyone knows what a glass is. I don't need to explain. The word glass has the word arse in it, as in being see-through. So you can understand how that manifests into the real world, and I guess how that plays out, you know. So there's a lot of trickery and there's a lot of bewitchery within modern society that can lead us down the pathway of lust and teach us to not cherish our semen, you know. One thing they will never teach you in school is how to cherish your semen, aka how to cherish your starlight, you know. And it's very, very important, because if you were to utilize that powerful energy It will make you a better person. It will make those around you better people, and you'll be a positive contribution to this world, courtesy of your sexual discipline. You know, don't be like SHREK. Don't embrace your filth. Don't be comfortable with yourself getting unhygienic. And just like SHREK, he's living in the swamp. He's got no one around him. Of course, later on in the movies, he managed to get married. But at the start, he was by himself. He didn't even have a donkey with him. He was by himself in the swamp, and he just wanted to be away from everyone. If you embrace your inner demons, if you embrace your inner filth, you know, people won't want to be around you. People are going to be attracted away from you, and you only have yourself to blame. So guys, pattern up, get on this No Nut November. But one thing I wanted to say about this whole No Nut November that's very, very fishy indeed, is that people who participate in No Nut November, usually they like to have one final climax before they try taking on this month of trying not to bust a nut, right? They like to have one final climax. And what date do they have this final climax? The 31st of October. What is the 31st of October? The 31st of October is Halloween. You get me? So this whole No Nut November agenda is a way of getting you to bust a nut on Halloween. And you know, and the reason that's important is because it's like a devotion. It's like a devotion towards the rituals of Halloween. We all know about these rituals of Halloween, these demonic entities, and you know, Halloween is based on some serious real life witchcraft, bro. Real life witchcraft, bro. You get me? If we ever cover an image where we're speaking about Halloween, I'll definitely get into more detail on that. But you know, they're trying to get you to bust nuts on Halloween. That's why this whole No Nut November thing was created. I'm not saying don't participate in it, but you know, it's not just a November thing, it's a year-long thing. And just be disciplined, be smart, and just respect yourself and stay hygienic, because if you're not hygienic, it will lead to dark temptations. You know, Islam teaches this, Christianity teaches this. So on that note, you know, I hope you didn't find this image too disturbing. It is quite a disturbing image, as I said, not for the younger audiences. But make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and tune in next time to the Throned Out YouTube channel, man. We're killing these images, we're killing them.